Right. So, Purnima, my colleague, was just giving us an update about the president. But when it comes to the Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is acting right now as the sitting president, he's the acting president as we speak, demands for his resignation are growing. A resolution was passed demanding the immediate resignation. In a press release late last night by the Sri Lankan Parliament, MPs said that they'd held a meeting with the Chief of Defence Staff and the commanders of the three armed forces and the Inspector General of Police. They all called for a resolution to the current crisis by demanding the Prime Minister's resignation. We'll go over now to my colleague Purnima to understand more. Purnima, if you could give our audiences more context here. The news we've just told our audiences is mirrored by protesters' new chants. Earlier they were saying, "Go Gotabaya, go." Now protesters are chanting, I believe, "Go Ranil, go." But I want to understand from you, at the same time, the ruling party sources have said that their top choice for the next president could still be Ranil Wickremesinghe. Could you bring us more context?
Well, last week itself, when Ranil Wickremesinghe, when other opposition parties here wanted Ranil also to step down along with President Gotabaya, what Ranil said was that after an all-party government is formed, he will step down. But an all-party government formation is quite unlikely, considering that Sajid Premadasa, the leader of opposition, does not have enough support. Of the 225 parliamentarians, his party has only 55, and even if you consider that independents would support him, the ruling party has the majority to decide who the next president could be. Which is why yesterday, when during the all-party meeting that happened at the Speaker's residence, what we understand is that all the parties said that even before Gotabaya Rajapaksa submits his resignation, they want Ranil Wickremesinghe to submit the resignation as well, because the other parties here think that even if the Rajapaksas step down, they will still have influence and control over the country by ensuring that they appoint their man for the top post, which is why every party yesterday suggested to the Speaker that Ranil resigns even before Gotabaya does. So parties are not happy, opposition parties are not happy with Ranil being made the acting president, which is why yesterday we saw chorus growing louder for Ranil also to step down, because they don't want Ranil to be the interim president. All eyes on when the parliament convenes, and then discussion on the president's post will come up. The vote is scheduled to take place in the parliament on the 20th of July. But all this only after Gotabaya Rajapaksa submits his resignation, which he hasn't done yet. It was 13th when he promised to resign, but a day later, protesters are still waiting for an official announcement from Gotabaya's team. So far, no resignation has happened. So only after he resigns, the parliament will convene, and then the vote for the next president will take place. Whether Sajid will get the support of some of the ruling parliamentarians, that remains to be seen. But at the moment, opposition in a huddle, because they don't enjoy the majority at this point in time.
Purnima, stay with us. I believe we also have my colleague, Foreign Affairs correspondent Abhishek Jha. He's with us right now to give us more context on these developments. Abhishek, good morning. Abhishek, for our audiences, tuning in from across the country right now, could you give us more context? The Rajapaksas were known as leaders who had an iron grip on power. But could you tell us more about the personality that Ranil Wickremesinghe is? Again, here we've heard again and again from political sources that a lot of the opposition thinks of him as just the go-to man for the Rajapaksas. But could you tell us more about the man that he is?
Ranil Wickremesinghe, he comes from a political family. He has been Prime Minister of Sri Lanka in the past on several occasions. Even this time around, when this Gotabaya Rajapaksa was elected with a landslide victory, Ranil Wickremesinghe did not get enough seats or enough majority in the parliament. In fact, he is the lone MP from his party. But when the crisis came and the Rajapaksa clan has to, remove themselves from the position of power, then Ranil Wickremesinghe emerged as a choice of theirs, where they appointed Ranil Wickremesinghe as the Prime Minister in place of Mahinda Rajapaksa. So ever since this has happened, people had this sense that Ranil Wickremesinghe is also aligned to Rajapaksa and his family and his ideologies or his policies. So Ranil Wickremesinghe is actually the go-man for Rajapaksa family, and this is the sense that has actually outraged protesters when they were asking for Gotabaya Rajapaksa to resign and other Rajapaksa family members to leave the position apart. They were also asking Ranil Wickremesinghe to resign because they knew that as long as Ranil Wickremesinghe is in power, they are not going to get over with this Rajapaksa family, and this has actually happened. We knew that it was announced by Gotabaya Rajapaksa that he is going to resign on 13th of July. That did not happen. He fled the country, and Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was Prime Minister and who by virtue of constitutional power automatically gets elevated to presidential post now, is ordering certain executionary powers, where we have seen yesterday where protesters and security personnel started having scuffle, imposition of curfew started happening at certain places. In fact, broadcasts of public broadcasters were also stopped, and it was believed that certain information blockade is going to be in place to disperse people, not let them gather, and the momentum of to in fact decrease the momentum of protest that has been happening for days in Colombo. So this is how Ranil Wickremesinghe is being perceived now. In fact, the chorus is growing that Ranil Wickremesinghe, even though Gotabaya Rajapaksa does not resign, Ranil Wickremesinghe must resign immediately. That is the demand that protesters are putting right now. Another angle is the speaker. It was believed since the beginning that a speaker who also hails from the Rajapaksa's party will also try to support Rajapaksa in trying to cling with the power, if not directly, then indirectly through some person who they can actually trust. Ranil Wickremesinghe currently looks like a person where Rajapaksa might have some trust in him, or probably if the speaker comes to the power seat, he will also be one of the key ally of Rajapaksa. This is the apprehension of the protesters are. So we have heard Sajid Premdasa, opposition party leader, who is trying to gather enough support. He does not have, he have about 50 MP in the parliament, which is not enough for him to be elected as a leader. But he's trying to gather more support from other party members so that he could be the president of Sri Lanka.
Abhishek, thank you so much for that context. Stay with us, please.